Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the This Way Network. We are so glad you're here this morning. Please pardon our technical difficulties. And you're right, Jacqueline, it would not be Monday morning without a few glitches, or so it seems. Yeah, but we're here now, and EU, Chris is with us, AC, Jacqueline, we're all glad to have you here. And we have a guest. So Rodney, take it away, introduce your guest.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's having a blessed Monday. The week is off to a great start, and I have a very, very dear friend and colleague, and has been doing so many wonderful things for many, many years here in Southern California. And he just has an amazing story. He's not just your typical rocket scientist. He is a man with a heart for the community, a heart for the youth, just a very, very dynamic friend. And I'm glad to say he's here with us, Mr. Aaron Schwartzbart of Motorgospel Ministries. How you doing, Aaron?
Incredible.
Amen.
Thank you so much for having me. Wonderful to see your smiles this morning.
Oh, man.
Well, thank you. We're so glad you're with us.
I've had the pleasure of attending some wonderful events that Aaron has put on, and he is just very, very connected here in Southern California politically. He's a lot of great friends here from city council and the mayor's office, and just so many wonderful people, in addition to a great alliance with the LA sheriffs, LAPD. And Aaron is going to kind of share with us how it all got started. Aaron, can you tell us, where did it all begin? And let's take it all the way back to your days with NASA.
Well, where it began, briefly to go even further back, I came out the womb because there's an important message here. And I want you to know Rodney is very humble. He has more than just attended. He's been a wonderful supporter of our ministry for many years. If our program has saved any lives, we have Rodney now and Rippy to thank for it, because of your warmth, your humor, your smile, your attitude. You have brought others to support our ministry just by your presence and your name recognition and stuff. So Rodney has done much more than just attend a few events here. We're grateful. We love you, Rodney. Going briefly back, the whole way back to the beginning, because there's kind of an important message here. I came out of the womb hardwired to drive like a homicidal maniac. We think babies are innocent because they're kind of helpless, but God looks at the thoughts and intents of our heart, not just whether we have muscle or could pull a trigger or something like that. I was very dark in my heart from day one. I was a Ted Bundy or a Charles Manson with the steering wheel pretty much from the start. And nobody taught me to be that way. I came out that way. I got born again about the age of 30, about 30 years ago. I just turned 61. So much to everybody's surprise, I got born again about 30 years ago. And I've been using my pathological tendencies with the steering wheel for good instead of being a problem in the community for about half my life now. Somewhere in there, I was gifted for math and science. My parents steered me in that direction for years. I hated it. I hated my dad for pushing algebra on me in 8th grade. And when I got the first time I ever got anything less than an A on math, on a math test, was in algebra in around 8th grade. And instead of sympathy, my dad gave me 10 extra algebra problems per night, 5 nights a week, on top of the homework that the school assigned. I hated him for it, and I hated algebra. And now, after a 40-year-long charmed career as an award-winning rocket scientist, I thank my dad for it. Yeah, left the space program. I entered the space program in 1985 with a bachelor's in physics from UCLA, and left the space program in 2012 to devote full time to Motorgospel Ministries. I founded the ministry in 2001, but I didn't go full time until 2012. And then I came out of early retirement, strictly part-time consulting. Not willing to leave the ministry. I don't believe God is calling me to quit the ministry. Came out of early retirement to do some consulting for Blue Origin. You may be aware that space was the playground of congressmen and retired admirals and fighter jocks and such for many, many years. And then it morphed into the playground of rock star investors like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Sir Richard Branson. So they have snapped up a bunch of us retired rocket scientists, and I'm having a lot of fun just getting paid to give my opinion while the youngsters take all the. I have no decision-making authority whatsoever in the space program. I get paid just to give my opinion while the youngsters make the decisions and keep the commitments or be accountable for whether they keep the commitments or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Motorgospel Ministries. So go ahead, ma'am.
I was just going to ask, let's go back to, and my kudos to you for your service. And I really do consider it a service in the space industry. I'm saying that because my dad was in the space industry. And retired from NASA and then worked with a contractor for another 12 years, retired after that from there. So anyway, the space industry has been a part of my life ever since my growing up years. And I really, really appreciate the men who work in it and women. So thank you for your service there. But let's go back to the motorsports.
Right. Yeah.
So I understand you were already doing that before you started the ministry. So, but for a lot of people who might be listening in, they don't even know what motorsports are, except for, NASCAR. That's all they see.
Sure.
Tell us exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I'm a 5-time champion I was in NASCAR as a youngster from 90 through 95. Back when I had hair. You got to use your imagination on the hair thing. It was a long time ago. That was NASCAR. That's big Chevrolets going in circles, with which you're probably familiar. This inception, what I do with Motorgospel Ministries, I do road racing in the John 316 race car. It's a poor man's Porsche, 1973 914. 914 was a collaboration between Porsche and Volkswagen to make an affordable Porsche. And it was mid-engine. Their flagship model, the 911, is rear engine. They didn't want the mid-engine, and mid-engine is an inherently better chassis. It handles better than rear engine. They didn't want the mid-engine car to be able to beat the rear engine car, so they intentionally made it underpowered. So people with the means to buy the flagship rear engine car wouldn't buy the cheap Porsche. They wanted them to buy the expensive one. And then the mid-engine one started getting more horsepower, and they killed the model as a marketing decision because they knew they wouldn't sell as many of the expensive, snobbish rear engine cars. So my 914 has a NASCAR motor in the middle of it instead of a little Volkswagen motor in the middle of it. 440 to the wheels instead of 75 horsepower to the wheels. It does 180 miles an hour instead of 110 miles an hour. It's a fire breathing version of a Frankenstein of a 914. That's the John 316 race car. I compete in that throughout the Western United States. Road racing, Laguna Seca, Willow Springs, places like that. Unlike NASCAR, which is mostly left-handers, it's right-handers, left-handers, uphills, downhills, a lot more strategic use of braking and all kinds of things like that. I'm a 5-time champion with the National Autosport Association. National Autosport Association is an organization of amateur road racers, about 10,000 strong nationwide, and people come from all walks of life. Speed and a love of playing with cars is a great unifier. People come from all walks of life. Some of them are driving $1 million hauler, racing a car that's $250,000 for a little plastic trophy. It's amateur road racing. Some of them are driving $3,000 Toyotas and staying in tents at the track. So it's a broad range of people. People come from all over the world to do what we do. A guy actually commutes from Italy to Laguna Seca to race with us at the amateur level here in America. I'm the chaplain for the National Autosport Association. In addition to being a 5-time champion, I'm a driving instructor with them. I've instructed, besides reaching millions with the anti-street racing message through mass media like this, I've won instructed in the car all day long, sitting in the passenger seat with a driving student. Over 100 people, some of whom have gone on to be champions and motorsports professionals in their own right. I was recognized by my peers as driving instructor of the year in 2017, and I operate an anti-street racing campaign for the Los Angeles Police Department, wherein the young hoodlums get sentenced by the courts to community service in the form of coming to the track with us, where us motorsports professionals humiliate them at 150 to 200 miles an hour.
Oh.
Consequently, street racing loses a lot of its luster after they're
Right.
badly embarrassed, being obviously the slowest person on the track.
Right. Right.
Aaron, you know what you're doing. I mean, all across America, we see these things that they call street takeovers, and a lot of young people come out. There'll be possibly a few hundred to upwards to 1,000 people standing around, and they're spinning the cars. If you ever went through your neighborhood and you see all these black little donuts in the street, that was the aftermath of a takeover. These things tear up the streets, they do damage, and they're very, very dangerous. And so what Aaron has been doing is giving the young people and believe it or not, grown adults a better alternative to street racing and doing these exhibitions on the street, because people have been getting killed, property damage. It is just a terrible nuisance in your beautiful, quiet neighborhood to hear all these tires screeching. And so Aaron has been working to get these young people and lawless people off the streets and onto certified, regulated tracks here in Southern California, so people can get out their aggression. If they've got the need to speed, they need to go up against people like Aaron Schwartzbart and a host of other people who are real drivers, and they put big money and they put big time into their sport, auto sports, and they also are helping keep the streets clean. Nina, you had something?
I love that, Aaron. I'm very excited about that, because that means you are giving other people who were born like you, with a bent toward doing that, a legitimate outlet to do it, and possibly, moving them even into a career. Doing it. Which, that's a tremendous thing.
And we don't want to forget that what Motorgospel Ministry does, it also has an outreach arm to young people within the community. He gets the young people into his shop, and Aaron's beautiful wife, Terry, who also is an incredible artist. You see some of the beautiful artwork behind her. Aaron and his lovely wife just got back from Tokyo, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Where she had an amazing exhibit of her art. I had the pleasure of being in here in Southern California to go to a local gallery and where her work was exhibited. But me being involved in the entertainment industry, I'm so happy to say that Aaron's story is bigger than just his outreach. He's also started doing documentaries. He's got a film. Can you talk a little bit about your video production and some of the things that you have?
Yeah, Neil Newman and Shoot, Cut, Deliver have chronicled my ministry since I think we met in 2006. I founded the ministry in 2001. Neil is not a believer. We're both Jews. I'm a Jew by blood, even though I'm a Christian by faith. Neil is a Jew by blood, and he's more of a nominal American Jew. I don't think he's really observant, but he's our religious differences have never been a problem. We have an absolute wonderful unity. We've put out about 20 documentary shorts since 2006, ranging from 30 seconds long to about 7.5 minutes long. Neil has seen all kinds of crazy stuff as he's followed my wild ride with his camera and his editing skills and all that stuff. He's absolutely brilliant with a camera and in the editing bay. A real artist, not just a sometimes documentary, to some people, documentary implies a lack of artistry and that it's more of an informational kind of thing. Neil's videos are very glitzy. They're anything but. I mean, they are informative, but they're so much more than just informative. They're very artistic, and we've won countless laurels together. We've been on many red carpets together. I met Ron Jeremy. I was a wannabe porn producer prior to becoming a Christian at the age of 30, and very, very dark in my heart. I did all kinds of very sordid stuff, and very ironic that as a Jesus freak, we were in Hollywood at Raleigh Studios for a film festival where our Motorgospel Peace March video is being featured and winning awards that Neil and I did together. It was a documentary short about a peace march where we had ex-cons walking shoulder to shoulder with the LAPD, ex-gang members that got out of prison. They all got born again in the penitentiary, and now they were walking shoulder to shoulder with LAPD officers through a gang-infested neighborhood under the Motorgospel auspices, calling for peace in the neighborhood. And that documentary got us on the red carpet. Me, a Jesus freak, looking like a walking Christian flag in my driving suit, and cops with their in uniform badges and guns and all that. Liberal Hollywood elite welcome Jesus freaks and cops on the red carpet on the strength of Neil's Peace March video. And there I met Ron Jeremy on the red carpet, he's like the most famous porn producer ever. He was a hero to me 30 years ago when I was wild, before I was a Christian. And I got to meet him as a Jesus freak now. And I got to pray for Ron Jeremy on the red carpet there in Hollywood, in part because of Neil's stuff. I've been associate producer and had cameos in a couple of relatively more major league productions with Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo, where we got a tiny little 15 seconds worth of Motorgospel Ministries woven into other family-friendly type movies that have been on Amazon and places like that. I'm passionate about film.
Cool. Yeah. How cool. I love how God is expanding all of this for you. Oh, man. Not just in one area even. Tell me about your car. I heard you say that it was the John 316 car.
Yes. Yeah, John 316 race car, 1973 Porsche 914 with a NASCAR 358 Chevy in it, making much more power than what it came out of the showroom with originally. Fully caged. It's painted up in the colors of the Christian flag with John 3:16 on the side and Jesus Saves on the rear trunk, big enough to read from a helicopter.
And I want to jump in here. Yeah. Aaron, being a race car driver, a lot of people, the dream and the hope of any race car driver is to have sponsorship. When you see these cars and you see them covered up with all of these sponsors, those are people who are given money. They want exposure on that real estate on the cars with their logos. Aaron, being a champion driver, has had many people come to him and want to sponsor him. But Aaron told me that the Lord told him to never take any sponsorships where they're physically displayed on the car. And the only thing you see is a huge red cross on his hood and Jesus Saves. And he was relentless. He had tracks that said that they didn't want to put his car on the track because of it. And he's out front with this big red cross and Jesus Saves on it, entertaining thousands of people out there racing. Talk about that a little bit, Aaron.
Yeah. So we one of the interesting things, because Rodney said I'm a little bit politically connected, and that is a true statement. But yeah, interestingly, I don't have a political bone in my body. I hate politics. I love governmental affairs. Joseph was all about governmental affairs in Pharaoh's court, but Joseph was not a politician. He didn't make any compromises. He didn't talk out of both sides of his face. He was a very sincere guy who kept God in the appropriate place of reverence and worship and such. So yeah, it's very key to our ministry. Even when I'm in places where it's totally not a church setting, I'm very real. I don't ever try and I don't have an ulterior motive. I don't try and twist the conversation around to being about Jesus. We talk about whatever's contextually appropriate, but I won't take off his colors for nobody. Hell's Angels goes into a bar simply because he's thirsty. He's not on a recruiting mission. So,
Right.
but don't ask him to take off his colors. He's going to be who he is everywhere he goes. So the John 3:16 car is the John 3:16 car. We never ask for donations. We never ask for handouts. People do donate. They do sponsor and stuff, but
Yep.
we won't put any other markings on the John 3:16 car besides Jesus. And my name isn't even on the car. NASCAR, I always have my name on the car. My name isn't even on the car. Everybody knows the John 3:16 car. They don't even necessarily know my name or this pretty face or any of that. But my brand is the car and the suit that looks like a walking Christian flag. We do have other ways of thanking people. It's interesting the way this has evolved because, you know, what Rodney's asking about is the result of over 20 years of doing this ministry and making hard choices, sometimes without a lot of time to think about them. And when you're dealing with politicians that might have good motives or might not have good motives, might be smiling in our faces just for their own personal benefit, but not really with a sincere desire to do good, et cetera, et cetera. Radio stations that want to support us, television that wants to support us, possibly even with good motives, but having some very evil content where I can't really endorse the content or encourage people to go there. But I also want to show appropriate gratitude for anybody. My cause of saving lives that would otherwise be lost to illegal street racing, that appeals to a broad range of people from both sides of the aisle and many different walks of life. And we want to celebrate the fact that people want to help with that cause without necessarily endorsing everything else they stand for. So, I was asked by a very large Christian organization that provides chaplains to motorsports. They wanted me to be a chaplain with them. And they have millions and millions and millions of dollars, huge budget, much, much bigger than Motorgospel does. But they said I needed to take the cross off of my suit and take the cross off of the car because they didn't want to offend anybody with the cross. They said their way of being chaplains to motorsports was to be a friend more than to be like a really out Jesus freak. And I decided it was not a tough decision for me. It was a painful decision, but not a tough decision. They could have done so much for me with their much bigger means than I have. But taking the cross off for me would have been like if you're in an interracial marriage and you're dealing with some people that don't like what you're married to, and you take your wedding ring off to downplay the fact that you're in an interracial marriage.
Right.
How can you look your spouse in the eye if you would take your wedding ring
Right.
off? And I am the bride of Christ. I was not going to take off my cross. And this was Christians that asked me to take off my cross. So I forlornly decided, well, I guess I don't have what it takes to be a chaplain in the motorsports world. I'll just keep on doing me, driving the John 3:16 car and walking around like a Christian flag and doing my thing. And very shortly after I made that tough decision that I was never going to be a chaplain in the motorsports world, the National Autosport Association asked me to be their chaplain, and they did not have any stipulations such as taking off the cross. And they're not a Christian organization.
And Aaron, I really enjoy your, on Saturdays you do your music ministry. Yeah. And it's wonderful. Can you tell people how they can kind of follow you and see some of the things that you're doing? And on top of Aaron being an amazing driver and really entrenched in the community, he is a great musician and has a voice that you won't believe. And he's always doing these little shows. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So Friday night we do evangelism. I do something very unusual with a keytar. I don't know if you're familiar with the keytar. It's an impersonal plastic box of microchips. It's a 1980s era instrument which combines elements of a keyboard and elements of a guitar. So the right hand is on the keyboard, and I don't know if we lost Rodney. Oh, here he comes. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
still
back.
here. Yeah. The right hand is on the keyboard. The left hand is on a controller portion of the keyboard with which you can do vibrato and pitch bend and things like that. And most people really didn't give it its due. A very few people like Jan Hammer and George Duke did some interesting things with it, but most people used it for a very cheesy bubblegum pop sort of novelty, where it was more like a video game or a pinball machine than an actual musical instrument.
Mhm.
Well, I grew up on B.B. King and Billie Holiday and Carlos Santana and Duane Allman and stuff like that. So I'm very influenced, even though I'm a keyboard player, I'm more influenced by guitar players than I am by keyboard players. And I got my mom's left hand. My mom was a violinist for 65 years. She had a left hand that would make the most toughest, the most hardened soldier, tough guy would cry like a baby to hear her vibrato on that violin. She was so sentimental. So I inherited my mom's left hand. So I play the keytar like B.B. King or Duane Allman or Carlos Santana. I play the keytar with a whole bunch of feel, because I really emphasize the left hand on the pitch bend ribbon, with which I can do, very personal, emotional vibrato and pitch bend and expression and things like that. Not just the right hand on the keys. And so I shred on Friday nights. I do sidewalk evangelism at Granada Hills Grub Fest, which is a weekly food truck festival. I shred Van Halen, I shred Guns N' Roses, I play the blues like B.B. King and Allman Brothers and such, all sanitized, no lyrics that would hurt God's feelings. So any of the songs that I'm doing that had inappropriate lyrics, I only do them as beautiful instrumental interpretations. I don't call it cover music. I don't try to sound like anybody else. I interpret other people's stuff in ways that is doing homage to Slash or doing homage to Van Halen or doing homage to B.B. King or whatever, not worshiping them, just respecting what they brought to the table musically. So I shred like that, and I give out free Bibles and anti-street racing literature at my table with my videos looping on the sidewalk. People are different. Some people really want to take a piece of paper that they can read. Some people want to talk to me. Other people are shy. They don't want to talk to me or interact or take anything. They're afraid of tracks and stuff, but they watch those videos as they're walking by, and they can't help hear the ear splitting Van Halen, feeling the shredding and seeing the videos of the John 3:16 car and the LAPD and the gangsters walking shoulders, the reformed gangsters walking shoulder to shoulder with the cops and such. So we spread the aroma of Jesus Christ through the neighborhood on every Friday night at the Granada Hills Grub Fest. Even people that don't go to church, everybody knows the guy who shreds Van Halen and gives out free Bibles on Friday nights. And then Saturday mornings we have Sabbath services, which are much more somber. I play quiet acoustic piano, unplugged music, reverent music. Friday night the music is entertainment. Saturday mornings the music is reverent music for the Lord, and I preach from the Word. I spent 8 years at Talbot Seminary getting a graduate degree in theology from Talbot that aids my ministry. You don't need a higher degree in theology to drive a race car with John 3:16 on the side, but it helps.
There you go.
Well, Aaron, for people who will probably never get to Southern California, how can they hear your music, see the videos you were talking about, and get more connected with that kind of ministry? How can they bring it to their area?
Oh, wow. So that's a couple questions. So in no particular order, because that's right, Rodney, you asked, I forgot. In no particular order, fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes things evolve without you really trying. My Facebook page, Aaron Schwartzbart, just like it says on the screen on Facebook, is the most up-to-date place that people can hear the music and see my posts and see the videos and such. Thank you so much. So my Facebook page, it's grown. I didn't plan it this way because Facebook isn't necessarily the best with a lot of young people. They're more interested in Instagram and TikTok and things like that. But as it happens, I have thousands and thousands of followers on Facebook, and I don't have that anywhere else. So my Facebook page, Aaron Schwartzbart Facebook page, is the most current. But I do have a website, motorgospel.org, just like it sounds, motorgospel.org. The motorgospel.org website is nowhere near as frequently maintained or updated as the Aaron Schwartzbart Facebook page. I also have Motor Gospel Ministries Facebook page, but that has only a few hundred people on it instead of 4,000 people or whatever. I have a YouTube channel, Motor Gospel YouTube channel, and that has our excellent productions on it. With the exception of the couple of movies with Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo. Those are on Amazon. One is called Success Camp, and one is called, I think it's called Chosen Chosen for Love. It was called Chosen. I'm only an associate producer and a little cameo on it. Jason Campbell is the main producer, and Jason had called it Chosen. And then I think it sounded too much like The Chosen, the television show
Right.
that everybody's
Right.
talking about. So I think he may have changed the name slightly to something like Chosen for Love. It's a story about adoption, and Motor Gospel has a success story about adoption in our ranks of our after school auto shop club that Rodney was talking about. So they gave a little bit of that story, our story from Motor Gospel in that movie. But all of that's to say, the Motor Gospel channel on YouTube has the really well produced videos from Neil, and it has a bunch of not edited raw stuff, just like the Sabbath services and the sidewalks and stuff, which is all much more Wayne's World than TBN, you know, kind of more impromptu stuff.
And Aaron, if anybody wanted to make a donation to help further your efforts to the community, how could people donate? How could people, they just need to, where would be best to find you?
Yeah, the easiest way for us is if you Zelle to motorgospel@gmail.com. That's MOTORGOSPEL @gmail.com.
There you go.
You can mail us, you can do various things, you can PayPal, but quickest is probably Zelle to motorgospel@gmail.com. Oh, and you asked how about if they want it in their town? Yes, I am willing to travel. We've gone nationwide with it. We went to Tokyo with my wife's art. She was exhibited at the Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum and at the Salvadoran Embassy in Tokyo. She's from El Salvador originally. So we went to Tokyo with her art. We discussed Motor Gospel with a few people there, but it wasn't ostensibly a ministry trip. It was mostly for her art. But yes, we are willing to travel. And the movies, the more major league feature movies with which I've been involved, we did travel for that. They were not shot locally. So yeah, we can do all kinds of things.
And I was just trying to look you up on YouTube right there.
Oh yeah.
See if I can find it and show it to everybody.
Oh right, yeah. Feel free. Yeah, Motor Gospel, just like it sounds.
Yep. Well, Aaron, I'm so appreciative of you coming on and spending some time with us, and I look forward to. And what is do you have any upcoming events where people can come and support you?
Sure. We have the regular stuff, which is after school auto shop every Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. In Granada Hills at the Motor Gospel Ministries Center, 17735 Chatsworth Street, Granada Hills, 91344. So that's every Thursday. But we also have a race weekend at Willow Springs, August 25th and 26th, I think it is. It's the Saturday and Sunday of, I'm looking at my calendar here. August 26th and August 27th at Willow Springs. We'll have a race weekend. And if people are 18 or over, they can get a free shotgun ride with one of our instructors.
And Aaron, Aaron's invited me to some of these wonderful events. I haven't been able to get out there, but I sure want to come and experience Motor Gospel Ministries and cheer you on out there.
Yeah. And especially now, sorry, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
ma'am.
Yeah.
There you go. Y'all go look for it.
Yay.
Yeah.
One of the most recent videos that you'll see there, Rodney will appreciate this because Rodney and I first met, I can't remember how long ago, 15 years now. I don't know. It's been a while. Right? Maybe more. Because he had a Corvette back in North Carolina, and he saw my involvement with the race cars and stuff. We started talking about cars before we talked about anything else. And since that time, just in the last year or two, some people donated. They went 197 miles an hour in a 1985 Corvette at the Texas Mile, and then took their motor out and donated the rest of the car to Motor Gospel for our anti-street racing campaign. So one of the freshest videos that you'll see on the YouTube there is LAPD Assistant Chief Al Labrada debuting that Corvette. It's co-branded with LAPD and Motor Gospel, black and white with flashing lights on top and stuff. Al Labrada drag racing that Corvette at Irwindale drag strip in its maiden voyage just a couple of weeks ago. So that's pretty fresh. Yeah. We had only a Porsche before. Now we have a Porsche and a Corvette. Very ironic because I never lusted after these marks. Some people are very they make an idol out of the Stuttgart Shield, the mark, and they make an idol out of the Corvette. You know, there's two very desirable cars. I was never dying for either of those, and yet God has brought us both of those. I have to pinch myself sometime.
Well, I have to tell you, Aaron, there are so many more things that I'd want to know, but we're about out of time. And I definitely want to have you back again. Please keep me and Nina and our wonderful viewers out there informed, and we'll make sure that we are constantly, when you get something, let us know so I can bring it up on our Monday show. And Aaron, man, we really appreciate you. God bless you for everything you're doing in the community. Continue to drive for Jesus, man, and just have a great time out there. Be safe. And Nina, I'm going to let you wrap it up.
Aaron, thank you so much for being here. We are just thrilled to hear about your ministry and everything that God is doing there in Southern California. We really appreciate you. And everyone out there, be of good courage. God is with us, and we are not alone. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay. All right. God bless, Aaron. Thanks for coming on with us.